2 weeks ago, I ran 2:20 at the Grand Malls Marathon. Through 17 miles, I was on pace to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials, but then I faded. Now I have 22 weeks to figure out how to string together those final 10 miles. Can I do it? It's time to find out. Now that you're here, just wanted to welcome you to the channel officially as we sort of just dive into what this training block looks like. Currently, just a little bit about me outside of just running. I coach. I own a company called For Glory Running, where I coach around 17 athletes, both locally and some out of the state of Kentucky. I'm a former collegiate coach, and currently I manage a Starbucks here in Lexington, Kentucky, where me and my wife, Adrian, live with our 2 pups. I'm just excited to sort of share this journey, really be able to show you what it looks like to go all in while trying to balance life, trying to glorify the Lord just with what we're doing. And so I hope you enjoy the next 22 weeks as we sort of dive in to an open and honest look of what it looks like to train for an OTQ. We're gonna go backwards a little bit. Before we really get into the meat of this video, just want to go over what happened at Grand Malls Marathon, why I'm here, what led me to get here, and yeah, just do a little Grand Malls recap, and really a recap over the last year or so. Building up to Grand Malls, honestly, I'd probably put together what I would say is probably the best overall block in my career. For the past, I don't know, maybe 2 years, I've really struggled with injuries. I tore my labrum, had an navicular stress fracture in the fall. I've had stress fracture in my hip. I've had a stress fracture in my ankle. And so I've really struggled. I want to train as hard as I absolutely can, and that has come with a lot of costs. But for the first time in a while, the build up to Grand Malls was pretty smooth. I ran a few races, a lot more than usual. Ran the Louisville Triple Crown races, and in doing that, I was able to run a 5K PR. Was also able to run a 10-mile PR. I mean, honestly, really the first time I truly raced a 10-mile. And then on top of that, I was able to run a solid 10K, run a good half marathon. And so everything was sort of coming together. Not all the races were absolutely perfect. Last year, I won the Kentucky Derby Festival half marathon. This year, fell back closer to I think I was 5th or 6th, but I really just felt like I ran hard the whole time, was happy with my effort, just not happy with the result. Overall, training went about as good as possible. I ran some of the biggest mileage weeks in my career. In doing that, I would say, I think for the month of May, I probably averaged running about 120 miles per week. So far this year, I've been the biggest mileage year I've had, and I really felt good doing it. Was able to string together a lot of solid workouts that I didn't necessarily have in the past. My top end speed was coming around, and then I felt really strong in a lot of my long runs. But anyway, heading into Grand Malls, what the game plan was we really wanted to go out around 108.30 to 109.15, going halfway. But the whole block, one thing I had done was I had really focused on not having so much focus on a goal time. One thing, really one of my biggest faults I've ever had in training over the course of the past few years is I had been so focused on qualifying for the Olympic marathon trials. Yes, that is the goal still. But one thing that Grand Malls Marathon taught me, and that build taught me, was that the time can't be my focus. For so long, it was 218 or bust. Every workout I did was so focused on, if we can't run the splits to run 218, which was the last Olympic trials marathon block, then there's a loss of self-worth, or a loss of confidence in my ability as a runner. So entering this block, truth be told, I really just went in and tried to execute workouts to the best of my ability. and was just so focused on getting the best out of myself and enjoying the process, really seeing what that was going to allow me to get out of myself. We went into ground models not really knowing what the day was going to bring, wanted to compete well, and just not get caught by ourselves. My last few marathons I'd run by myself, and which is the reason why I want to run the CIM for my OTQ attempt, is because I really don't want to have to try to run 216 all alone. At the marathon project, I really got caught up in the mix of no man's land. Heading into the race, I knew it was going to be fast. It was my first pro race, and basically the last pace group was going to be paced at 216 pace, and I knew I was in about 218 shape. And so pace was overall a little faster than I was ready to handle. So with that, really wanted to just go with the group as we were getting into the race. So that's what I did. I knew I wanted my first mile to be a little bit faster because it is net downhill. That was just according to really the chart that my coach shared with me, to adjust based off weather, to adjust based off course elevation. So my goal was really my first 5K to be around 16:05 to 16:10, but that being the fastest 5K of the course. And overall, that was about what I did. I opened up the first mile at 5:10, and that felt very comfortable. I really think as I manually split my watch, that ended up being closer to 5:15, but according to the Strava split, it was closer to 5:10, and was really just in the back of like an OTQ group. But what I had noticed was we'd already made a pretty decent separation from the group behind us. At that moment, that's all we'd made separation. I was talking to everyone in my group, and it sounded like they were all going for the trials qualifier of 216 pace, which is around 5:08 to 5:10 per mile. And so that was really where I found myself, and I tried to really just bounce off the back of that pack as best as I can. So came to the first 5K at 16:06. I was like, okay, if we stay here, I can stay with the back of that group. But really through the next few miles, the pace started to pick up. At that point, I wanted to play it safe. I've spent too much time in my past few marathons just really taking a risk and being aggressive, chasing a time that I've not been able to get the most out of myself. So at this point, I had to just make a decision on, do I want to run with this group, or do I want to run conservative and run smart? And so was battling a lot of games in my head, and as the group picked up, we went 5:10, 5:06, 5:14. I really decided to back off a little bit. You see miles 7, 8, 9 are really closer to 5:15, 5:16, 5:19. But as we're going through those miles and I'm running by myself, what I notice is that the pack isn't leaving me. Yes, I'm running behind them. I'm running by myself, but we're really running the same pace. They're not getting any farther ahead of me than I am of them. So around mile 10, I made a surge to sort of try to catch them, and that's where you see that 5:04 was allowing me to just get back in the group and deciding not to do this race by myself. And so in doing that, I got in a groove, and really just had in a good rhythm. We came through halfway, and around 1:08.08, I think was what my watch split. And at that moment, I was pretty ecstatic. I wasn't really watching splits, but I felt so good coming through halfway, and I knew that meant on that day that 216 was potentially in the range of possibility. I think at Marathon Project, I got halfway and really knew that 216 wasn't, or 217 wasn't the day. It was going to be a battle just to sort of hold on, and that's what it became at the Marathon Project in December. But this time we got halfway. I'm about 40 seconds faster than I did in December. And knew it'd be tough, but thought on a great day, then we could potentially OTQ, or at least run a very, very solid time. And so what happened at that point was the group we were with saw that we were about 8 seconds slow. They made a big surge. You see me, I ran 5:08 for that 14th mile, and I really lost probably 5 to 10 seconds on that group. So they had to be running every bit of 5-minute pace to sub 5-minute pace for that 14th mile, and that was really where it splintered open. I really just tried to stay in rhythm, not focusing too much on pace, but really just trying to keep that same solid, consistent effort and compete the best I could. But it was really around 17 and 18. You see the pace slowed. Obviously, grade adjusted pace says we're still on pace, but that's where the course really started to get hilly. That was where I really started to struggle a little bit and had to battle quite a bit. And the course thought that, okay, we have 8 miles to go. What can we hold on to? Was not thinking that a negative split was in the cards, but was thinking that a pretty special day could be happening. And so we sort of started chasing it. But one thing that I had dealt with really around this point, I thought I'd done a good job mitigating everything pretty early on in terms of heat. It wasn't an extremely hot day. I can't complain about it. It was a 60-degree day in the middle of June, just with high humidity, and I have a high sweat rate. And so I tried to stay as cool as possible early on. Every ice station, I was carrying ice for a mile or two. After water stations, I was usually grabbing 2 or 3 cups of water to drink and to pour on myself. And so I thought I did a good job, but it was around 17 or 18. Started losing feeling in my feet, started losing feeling in my hands, hearing started going in and out. And at that point, even though I wasn't falling apart just yet, I was scared of what was to come. This race, I had really told everybody I just wanted to put my full self into it. And so knew that meant that over this last 10K, a little bit longer than 10K, it might be the hardest I've ever had to dig, the deepest I've ever had to go into a hole. And really that's what it became. We came through the final 10K pretty sluggishly, but didn't fall apart as much as I had in the past. At the Marathon Project on a perfectly flat course, I was running 6 minutes, 6:15 pace over the past 10K. Whereas here I was able to hold on, continued to put one foot in front of the other, and was really making up a lot of ground. I came through halfway. I was in about 41st, 42nd place, and on the day was able to finish 29th. Overall, this wasn't necessarily the time I wanted. I think to take a big swing at 216, you want to see better than a 220 in your previous attempt or in your best attempt. But I saw out of myself what I needed to. I saw that I competed hard on a good day. I felt how comfortable it was to get through 14 and 15 miles at 216 pace on a warm day, nonetheless. I learned a lot of lessons from the Grandma's Marathon training block. And I think the biggest one is there's no need to focus on time. Yes, this series is going to be about me chasing the Olympic trials qualifying time, but overall, that can't be my sole focus. My sole focus as a train has to be getting better each day. My sole focus when I train has to be just seeing what I can get out of myself. I'm blessed to have the gifts that the Lord has given me. And whether I OTQ or not, I'm going to put my best self out there. And this is just the opportunity for you to see what that looks like. And so we're chasing 216. But with that in mind, we're not getting so caught up in the number. We're going to get caught up in the pursuit. We're going to get caught up in the community. We're going to get caught up in the courage that it's going to take to sort of go all in and dive all in. And so I'm just excited to document that. Now we're going to fast forward to this week. This is what week 1 of training looks like. 7-mile run, 6:55 average. Let the block begin. Okay, just wanted to go over what the week's going to look like. It's really going to be just a easy week to bounce back into things. I'm going to be able to take everything day by day. Yesterday on Monday, I did just 7 miles easy and just finished up a 9-mile run. Really just taking everything sort of by feel. And we'll add some strides on here. That'll wrap up day 2. I'm getting ready for CIM. So just a little bit what to look forward to the rest of the week. This week, we're keeping everything pretty easy. No workouts on the schedule. We'll probably be around 50 to 60 miles, really just seeing where the body ends up. Get a 13, 14-mile long run in this weekend. But really, the rest of the week, we're just having fun, getting back in the groove. It is Thursday, July 9th. I'm on my lunch break from work, but we got a run in this morning. This morning did about an hour easy and then just tacked some strides on to the end. We have a hill by our house, so did 4 by like 22nd-ish hill strides, and then did 2 by 200 strides, hoping the hill would just activate me and then I could open up on the 200s. One thing that was sort of funny and nice to see is that the top end speed that we worked on all of last block is really just sustainable. Less than a year ago, breaking 30 would have been an absolute all-out effort in a 200, and even in that, on the track, I'd have been lucky to break 30. But then today in trainers, just feeling like I was doing strides and not dead sprinting, I was able to run a 29 and a 30 for my 200s on the roads, and so just sort of funny to see that come together, and hopefully that speed pays off. Just signed up for the Life in Stride 5K here in about 3 weeks. So hoping to really be able to just see where fitness is at, not really too focused on what the time ends up being. But it'll be fun to sort of get on a track with some competitive guys and in a competitive group and just to check the fitness and I mean, maybe we can squeeze out a PR. My PR was on the roads, 14:53 earlier this spring, but being on the track is a completely different ball game, and so hopefully can squeeze something pretty good out of myself before we start the marathon training block. The past 2 days, yesterday was supposed to be an off day, but each Wednesday we have a group run with the company that I coach with and the company I own. We just do a group run where we do a Bible study, get together, run 4 easy miles, and then just have coffee and some fellowship afterwards. And so join that group. I did 5 miles with them at around 8:30 pace. And then today we did the hour-long run. Yeah, once we get home today, I sort of just want to do about 30-ish minutes of lifting, and then would like to be able to do 30 minutes of on the stationary bike and doing some lifting, just because it's something that's a little different from what I'm doing once I get into full marathon training. So just works in different muscles, keeps me moving twice a day, which I just like the routine of that. And so we'll do that later. Was planning on doing a lift this morning, but we had a long day yesterday, a group run, left the house around 5:45 a.m., didn't get home until closer to 10, but it was great. My wife and I got to have a date night. It's Burger Week here in Lexington, and so went to a Greek restaurant where they had a lamb burger, and also had a nice date with my wife. And then we went to worship night that our church was hosting out at the Lexington Sporting Club Stadium. And so got to fellowship with some friends, worship the Lord. And so willing to be a little tired, but it also meant I wasn't going to wake up early enough in order to do a weightlifting session after my run and get to work on time. And so I wanted to take some time to just sort of talk about why I'm running the California National Marathon. I ran CIM in 2022, and at the time it was a 4-minute PR. Had a pretty good performance that I was really proud of. I didn't know where I was at whenever I went in, but started double threshold training for the first time during that block, and then really just put myself in it. The California National Marathon is sort of known as being one of the fastest marathons in the U.S., and so I think it's the best opportunity to go to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials. Last year alone, 52 men hit the Olympic trials qualifying standard. And we just love to be able to be in that mix. I don't have too many opportunities to sort of run in a pack. I was fortunate at Grandma's to be able to find myself a pack of about 10 or 15 guys to run with. But that's been about the biggest group I've really had the fortune of being able to actually run with throughout the majority of a marathon. But to show you the depth of the California National Marathon, whenever I ran 2:23 there in 2022, that was actually the worst place I have finished in a marathon in my career. Finished in 95th place. I've run CIM, I've run Boston, I've run New York, and New York even being a considerably slower time. And I finished higher in each of those races. And so having a solid group of guys that if I could run 2:16 and that puts me 50th, I think that's just going to allow me to compete. Since 2022, I've been able to go out to CIM twice to coach. The NAI, whenever I used to coach at Campbell's University, has a marathon championships. And so we had a team that went out there twice in 2023 and 2024. And we both times were able to finish runner-up in the team category. We had an All-American one year. So it's been exciting to sort of learn the course as a coach, but also learn the course as a runner. And I'm really excited just to be able to go out and have the opportunity to put my own self sort of in the mix, see what's going to be possible, and just have a day. We still have a long time until that time. And so right now, just trying to be patient as we sort of get into it. But the California National Marathon, they labeled it as the OTQ factory. So really hoping that's where the dream is made. All right, so I am on my way home from work in my run. Just got 9.5 miles in today. Was not planning on going that far, was planning on only like 7 or 8. But went exploring in a different sort of neighborhood, ended up being a little bit longer than I planned, but no worries. Just an easy week, not too worried about mileage. All right, good morning, guys. It is
about 5 a.m. on Sunday. We're up and getting ready for a long run. Do I have to be up this early? Not necessarily, but this is about whenever I wake up, about every day, and so just keep that routine. I really struggle with sleeping in, so a lot of early mornings come, even when I'm not planning on it, but we'll get out the door here in about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get 13, 14 mile long run in, but for now, we're going to get some breakfast and coffee. I usually do about the same thing every day before a workout or before a long run, and so you could see what that looks like. And then we'll just chat about the week. So, like I said, breakfast is pretty much the same every workout, every hard long run day, and it's just sourdough toast. I've really found that this Ace Extra Sourdough is one that I really like. We will do that with some peanut butter powder, some banana. I have some electrolytes that I use, wildly charged electrolytes. And then we'll just drizzle with honey. Pretty simple, but honestly, just my favorite breakfast. It sits well, so I have before the marathon. And then we'll get ready to go out the door.
Wow, it is properly humid this morning. Just finished up 14 miles, about an hour and a half, and about to do some strides. But it is 7 degrees, so I didn't really feel that hot, but definitely I am sweating like crazy. So we're about to knock out some strides. This has been something that I wanted to add in after my long run just to work on some fatigue resistance, running a little bit faster with good form whenever I'm tired. So we'll hit those, we'll get in, make some breakfast, get to church, sort of have a semi-busy day for a Sunday. We have dog training later, and then we'll come home and write some plans. Have to finish those up before the week gets started. We just finished up with dog training on Sunday, had church and went straight to our puppy training as we are training Boston, but that'll pretty much wrap up the week. This week we just got in 55 miles total for the week, and so it's a good way to sort of get back into training. We still have a long ways to go, and so I'm really struggling with being patient, but that's going to be the lesson for the week, and just what I am learning this week. But thank you all for tuning in to our first week of a look into what it looks like to really go all in on training for the California International Marathon for myself. Yeah, and the heart of this channel is really just going to be about showing you the joys and really the trials that going all in has. I think that's what it looks like to be a Christian. There's tremendous joy in serving Christ. There's going to be trials along the way, but the continual renewal each morning of deciding to put on your shoes, walk out the door, and decide to choose Jesus each day is very similar to that of the same journey of choosing running each day, regardless of how hard that it is. And so I hope this journey helps give a look into that, and really just as we go, that you get to see the highs and the lows, the hard times and the easy times of training. So I'm really excited for the next few weeks. Next week we get to go to training camp. I say training camp, it's just Bluegrass running camp. It's a high school running camp that my coach puts on, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Really be able to dive into training with a bunch of high schoolers, some that will probably just absolutely drop me in some workouts, but it's going to be a ton of fun being able to serve and to be able to be a part of that. So you'll get a look into that. We get our first workouts in of the block. We have some 1K reps and then some mile reps. And yeah, it's going to be just a fun week. We're going to spend the rest of the day just putting this video out, getting it put together, working on some training plans, and getting some reps. So,
They keep
thanks again.
saying that you